everybody. I am Mrs. Devine, and my purpose today is to talk to you about the close reading that is going to be taking place during our long bonus period time. It'll be the first half. And this particular time is going to take place actually with your second hour teacher. So you might be wondering, what is close reading? And the reality is you've been doing close reading in all of your classes for many years in a row. The focus for you is not that you're going to do any form of what you might think of as extreme reading or holding it close to your face, but close reading is a way that you read a text, read the text over and over, and really look in depth, building knowledge, building content, and then explaining what you're observing, justifying what you are seeing. Now here at Concord, we are all kindergartners, fifth graders, seniors, K through 12, focusing our skills and talents on developing close reading skills. And the main reason is so that as a school corporation, we can build up our ability to read, write, and think critically. Now your teachers have already looked at this. They know what you're going to be doing from now on in these close reading sessions, but you might want to be able to see what they can do. They will have picked an article, and you might be reading an article with all other world history students or all other geometry students. You'll go through a 4-step process, and I'm going to model that for you in a little bit. The first step of the process is you will get the article, but your teacher's not going to teach it to you. They're not going to read it to you, and you will annotate it if you would like. You can annotate with these symbols, which I'm going to show you here in greater detail in a little bit. And all you'll really need is to read for understanding, read for learning. Your teacher will give you a question. You might call it a focus question or a guiding question. And the idea is to kind of guide your thoughts as you are reading. That would be just step 1. You will talk maybe a little bit. Your teacher might call all of your attention back and say, what did you see? What did you observe? But it's not a big conversation. The second step is that you'll be put in pairs, or what we call in teacher world dyads. And you will read it over a second time. You'll annotate it further. You'll discuss it with your partner, and you're going to start digging deeper into the text. The third time is where the teacher and you as a class are going over it in more detail, pulling apart meaning, looking for fact and opinion. Maybe there's a word you still don't know. Why did they choose this word? Going through that, discussing what you think the author's purpose might have been. And then the fourth time around, so this is the fourth session, the fourth time you've worked with this same text, you'll go back, and now that you've gone through all the other steps, you'll start to write. You'll start to do what you might know as argumentative writing or document-based writing, explaining what you observed in the text, quoting from the text, and those will be the steps of close reading. So behind me on the board, you can see an article from the Smithsonian, and this is a scientific article that is similar to what your teachers might give you. Even though the article has pictures on it, this online article has a lot of depth, it has a lot of academic vocabulary, and it's an example of what you might be asked to read. Now this article is online, and if you are in a class where your teacher is going to ask you to work with close reading online, an option that you have is to use Kami. Now I've already saved the article to my Google Drive, and then I've opened from Google Drive, I've opened it into Kami. So it looks exactly the same as it did before. It's just now going to have a toolbar on the side. Now in the first step, you just read the article and you annotate it. So if I was in Kami and I wanted to maybe circle a word or a phrase, or maybe it's a quote of something that I thought was very perhaps powerful or intriguing or I was confused about, I can go to the drawing tool. I can pick whichever color that I would like, and I'm just going to do a regular yellow right now. And then I could circle the quote that I found interesting. Or perhaps I wanted to just underline a phrase that I thought was important. Now all of that you have saved in the Kami document. So week after week you could come back to this. But you might be in a class where you're going to have a paper copy. So I've taken the same article and I've gone to a print version. So I do not have the same toolbar off to the side. You might use a pencil, a colored pencil, a highlighter, whatever works for you. And So this was the online example. If your teacher has devices that you can use in the classroom, your second hour teacher, remember, that you can annotate online. But you might be doing this as a paper version as well. For the paper version, I'm going to go to a print version of the very same article. So as I scroll up and down, you can see it's the same article. And we'll just look at this part right here. For this article, remember the first session is just you get a focus or guiding question, you read and you annotate. There might be some big class discussion, but it's very brief, and that's it. The second time around, you might be looking at some of the words that you have circled. So if I look at this one and I have circled the word metabarcoding, and I've read through it, I don't know what it means, or I find it a very powerful word that I want to use again. The second session, I'm paired up. I can ask my partner, do you know what metabarcoding is? And maybe they do, and maybe they don't. Or maybe they say, no, I don't know what that word is, but I found this part really interesting. And it's all about some support that you could use in your observations that you're thinking ahead about for the final time. So whether you're doing a print version or you are doing an online version, the way you annotate it is your choice. It might not look like anyone else's. So you are using online tools or physical tools in your hand to mark up the article. So the first time you read, the second time you are with a partner reading and discussing, going over it. The third time is the entire class. So if the third time, as your teacher's going over it with you, neither you or your partner knew what metabarcoding meant, you could ask the class. Did you guys know? You can ask the teacher. The teacher can be maybe directing you. Maybe they don't want to give you the answer. They want your classmates to kind of come together and together come up with the answer. And by the third time reading the same article, it might have lots of marks on it. You might have circled lots of things that you think are important. You might have written off to the side definitions or observations that you have made. And that leads to the fourth and final time. The fourth and final time that you would work with the article, you've read it through several times now. You've talked about it, you've thought about it, you've heard your other classmates talking and what they thought about it. And the fourth time is where you're going to then write about it. You're going to do, again, what I called either document-based writing or argumentative writing, where you are going to explain your observations, your ideas, what you thought, using the text itself to justify your answer. Okay, I want to wrap up today by reminding you why we are doing close reading, and it is a K through 12 Concord initiative, so we're all in this together, trying to be engaging and as fun as possible, making close reading and building those skills a priority here at Concord. Also, I wanted to go over the 4 steps, so 4 different times, 4 different weeks, you will be working with the same text and then a different text for 4 straight weeks. So keeping that in mind, the steps and how you do it. And then lastly, I wanted to introduce to you some of the symbols. Now, if you're a freshman, this might look familiar to you from the junior high, but if you are older or if you're new to Concord, this might not be familiar to you. These are just different symbols, and your teacher probably has a poster of them in their classroom of ways you can mark up the text so everybody knows what you are thinking. So if you're looking here, you can put a box around things that might be unfamiliar. Sometimes people put circles. That's what I am used to doing. You can put question marks by the things that you don't get or are confusing, or you might want to plan for the next week to ask your partner or the third week to ask your teacher. You can put exclamation points under amazing things or things that you think are powerful. You can underline parts that seem like it's a main point, something you might want to remember to put in your writing for the 4th time. You can put check marks by the parts that you agree with. You can put a C with a circle, so like a connection mark. And then finally, remember that you will be annotating and you can write in the margins. It's your close reading. So enjoy, and we'll be seeing you around.